Today on Pride Parkway, we're talking trees and lots of them. Hi guys, welcome back to Pride Parkway. I'm Jeff and this channel is all about my N-gauge loft layout. Now, a little bit different today. I'm not in the loft, I'm here in the dining room basically, so I'm right by outside. Spray paints, spray glues, all that kind of stuff, so hence why I'm not in the loft. And I am going to be making up a whole load of trees for the layout. I've done this over 2 afternoons in 1 weekend, and let's rewind to myself 2 days ago and I'll show you what I did with the trees. If it's your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like it, share the video, and don't forget to let me know what you think. What's your favourite way of making trees? Which of these do you like the best? I've got 4 different types of trees here, 4 different methods. So yeah, have a look, see what you think. Cheers guys. Right guys, so today's the day. I've got to make a lot of trees for the layout. If I'm going to have trees all the way through the scenic section that I'm itching to start work on, then I'm going to have to start building them. Now it's a bit of a catch-22 because I want to build the scenery up in that brown big mass area. I'll put a picture in now of where I'm talking about, but part of the problem that I've got is as I finish the track work behind it, I can't go too high, otherwise I'm going to break things, and I can't finish the track work because I can't get the peak or points that I want. As a result of lockdown in the UK, the points I want seem to be sold out everywhere, so I don't want that to hold me up, so I'm going to crack on. I'm going to make some trees. We can then work on the scenic work. Now, you can buy some really good trees, and if you had a look on some of my previous videos, you'll see some trees that are already on the layout, and most of them came from the model tree shop. I bought a few of them, like a starter set at a exhibition. They're great, they're really good, but they're not the cheapest thing to buy. I guess if you compare to some of your Soundfit locals, they're not the most expensive, but for a layout my size, I'm going to need quite a lot of trees. Now what you've got here in front of you is some trees that were actually taken from my old layout, which used to be down in the garage, and they're Woodland Scenic products, and I've got a few of these. I've probably got about a dozen of them, and some more that are broken that I can try and do bits with. So I'm going to be using them up again on the layout, and I've actually discovered that rummaging around some boxes that I have some of this stuff left, so I can make some more of these. Now in front of you, I'm downstairs, I'm on the dining table, and you'll see I've got a fair bit of stuff in front of me because I'm not entirely sure what I am and I'm not going to need for this, but this is a good starting point. So let me just move myself around and I'll show you. Let me just move these trees that were previously made. Just give you a little look at them out of the way, and then I'll show you what I've got. Now, got the table protected. Got some newspaper down, because remember, newspaper's free, divorces aren't. So that's the table nice and protected. Got a small cutting mat, craft knife, tweezers, scissors, all that kind of good stuff. And then over here is the bulk of what's going to make my trees. So we've got some Woodland Scenic tree Armatures, TR1120, and basically these are just little flat tree branches that you get out of the box, and they're flat, and I was just playing with that one there, and you just twist them round, and basically once you move them, they stay in the shape that you've moved them, and it kind of creates the tree trunk that you may potentially need. So we're going to use some of them. Not the cheapest thing. I've had these a couple of years, and that was £16.75 from my local model shop for a bag of them. I've also got cheapo trees from China. Get these all over eBay, Amazon and so on. They're not the worst thing, but they're not the best neither. They look a little bit like toilet brushes, but they were cheap, and I'm sure we can do something with them. I mean, most of this I can just pull off, and I can add bits to it and use different flocks and things, and even recover them and fill some of the gaps and make them look a bit better. So waste not, want not, I've got them, so I'm going to use them. Because they're quite uniform, I'll probably use them around the station area where the trees might be a bit more well maintained. I've got this. Now this is the trees that I just showed you. This is Forest Canopy from, it's a kit. From Woodland Scenics, and this is, I have no idea how much it was, doesn't have a price on, but this was from my old layout that used to be down in the garage, and the same trees that I just showed you. And basically when I bought this, what you got inside of it was, sorry, I'm just off camera, big bag of dead something. Now this is some kind of plant, and I don't know what kind of plant it is. It doesn't tell you on the box. I'm sure somebody will know. If you do know, pop it down in the comments. But you've got that, and then in addition to that, you've got some Scenic cement, and I actually still have a little bit of it left in that bottle there. And then in addition to that, you also got some medium green coarse turf. Medium green. Now, that's a shaker I have that didn't come in the kit. That's something that I have ready for working on the layout. And basically all you did was you got a tub, pulled one of these out, made it whatever size you wanted it to be, and dip it in the Scenic cement upside down, and then dip it into your coarse turf and sprinkle some more around and so on, and you end up with one of them trees that I just showed you. And I'm just grabbing one now to give you an idea what they look like again. So that's what you end up with, like that, and that's what you start with. And of course for end gauge you can just pull these off and make much smaller trees. Now the only downside to these is everything's very much at the top of the branches. You've got a long stem on them, but they've got their use, and again I'm not going to waste them, so they are going to get used as well, and we'll create some more of them trees. And then the very last thing that I have is Gauge Master Seafoam. Now I've seen a few people commenting that they struggle to get this, and I got it on Amazon and was putting them in stock, so I'll put a link down below in the description to them on Amazon, and if you're looking for them you can find them. These are suitable for all gauges, OOH or N and Z, and there's a handy little guide on the back there as well to help you gauge the size that your trees need to be. There's a 6-foot-ish human in all the different sizes, and it also gives you an idea of what shape of trees to create as well. And these is pretty simple. And the thing that I like about this is that as well as being able to make trees, I can get bushes out of this as well. Now I will be using the normal woodland scenic bushes that you get out of a bag, but I want something that's got a bit more height as well. So these bad boys, just pull one out. I mean, that is actually tiny, but actually that will probably make an engaged tree. And if I turn it over, and if we just look, that's the size of a human being. Sorry, it's that middle one there. So yeah, that's actually an engaged tree. So I'm going to get loads out of this. I'll also be able to pull some bits off and just use bits of this as well to both do bushes. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to glue some of these onto the Woodland Scenics Armatures and glue them in just to make them a little bit more bushy, because otherwise you end up with quite flat trees. So that's them. What else have I got in front of me on the table? The first thing I've got is glues. I've got lots of different glues. So I've got Woodland Scenic Cement, both in a spray bottle and also a little bit there as well. I've got some super glue, not sure if I'm going to need it, but I'm ready and prepared. Spray glues. Now this one comes from a shop in the UK called The Works. It's about £1. I think it was £1 or maybe £2 a tin. It's cheap. It is ideal for card, paper, fabric, carpet, leather, vinyl and much more. We'll see how we get on with it, because if that doesn't work, I have got a good old trusty 3M spray mount. I try not to use too much of that because it's quite expensive. Then we've got some static grass layering spray. I've got some Hobby Tack adhesive, which is what Woodland Scenics recommends you use on their trees, and it's what I used last time when I made trees. I've got my trusty IPA just in case I need it. I've got some dark brown spray paint because again I might want to, them for example are far too light, so I'll hit them up. That one's been painted when I've made it, that one hasn't, and you can see the difference in the shade of brown there. So that's been sprayed with a brown spray paint back when I made them. I've also got a selection of tubs and pots, just all microwave pots and things, because again they come in handy for when you're sprinkling things. I have some Woodland Scenics fine leaf foliage. Sorry, I'm having to get used to the window creating reflections on packaging. I don't have that problem in the loft because I don't have a window. But yeah, fine leaf foliage in light green. Again, this isn't very cheap, but I think I'm going to get quite a lot out of it, and it'll make bushes and stuff as well. So we'll see how we get on with that. I think it was £17.50 for a tub of that from Hatton's. Then I've got some coarse turf, I've got some scatters. I've got some, this is actually a poppy field scatter, but I thought, apple tree maybe, possibly. I've got some leaf cover that I bought from Geek Gaming Scenic a while back. Fine turf, underbrush. And then I've also got some foliage as well, which I believe you just pull it apart and stick it around the trees as well. So first things first, I'm going to get myself a load of trunks prepared, and then I'll come back to you. So all I'm doing with this seafoam is basically pulling out a big chunk of it and then trying to identify trees. So what you've got here is a tree that I've just identified. Now I'm sure you'll be, if you've not seen this before, quite impressed with that shape. Now that's a pretty big tree. If I engage, it's pretty huge. But you know, just sitting, I've also come up with some smaller ones like that. And in front of me, I've got some bits and pieces here that I've pulled out. There's still one more tree in there. So if I show you that one up close on the camera, now them branches come down a bit too far for me. So all I'm going to do is just pull those bottom bits off because they'll still get used. So they're the bits, little tiny bits like that, what I'm talking about gluing on to those Woodland Scenics armatures to make the trees. So we keep all that, but there we have a tree. And now one thing that you've just got to be careful of is, if I put my hand in front of it, you can hopefully see there's some big leaves in there. And I just use the tweezers and I just get in there with the tweezers and just pull them leaves off because I don't want them. I just want the branches. I don't cut any of this area yet because I don't know how tall I'm going to want the trees to be when they go in the ground. So I keep it long for now. Being N gauge, I've got the luxury that I'm probably going to cut quite a lot of that off, where if you're a double O gauge model, you might want to keep a lot of that, and you're going to want it to be as straight as possible. Now what you can do is soak this in some warm water, and then it makes it a little bit more pliable, and then if you hang it up, just a peg on the top and a peg on the bottom with a bit of weight on it, and it'll straighten it up. I'll see how I get on, see how bent they are before I decide whether I need to do that or not, so let me crack on. So I've worked my way through the entire box. It was quite therapeutic sitting doing that, and I've now got 3 different piles. So here in the box, I've got basically bits that are a bit too small to be a tray, but will make a really good bush. So that's those. Then I've got this tub here, and this tub is full of just all the little teeny tiny pieces and little offcuts, all that kind of thing. So I've got them there, and then I've got over here, let me just move this out of the way so you can see, a great big pile of trees. And these are all the trees that I've got out of the box, and there's loads here. Now, I've got the bonus of the fact that I'm modelling N gauge, so some of these, which would probably be a bit small for double O gauge, work absolutely fine for N gauge. So now I've got some absolute beauties like this one here. Look at that. That is huge, and it's lovely and straight and a really, really good tree. And actually you could just plant that on the layout like that and that would work, but we're going to go a step further. And then I've got lots of smaller trees such as this one, but again this will work really, really well for me and N gauge. So I've got all these trees here. So basically, as a recap, I've got 3 different piles. I've got a pile of trees, a pile of bushes, underbrush, that kind of thing, and then a pile of bits. Now what I'm going to do with a pile of bits is I'm going to make trees like this one. Hopefully you can see that all right, it's there. Now to make these, all I'm doing is using the Woodland Scenic tree armatures. Now I just need to grab one off the side. If you make them how it tells you to make them in the box, that is how they turn out. They're not bad, they're all right, but I want to make something better than that. I don't want all right, I want good. So all I do is I take one of these Woodland Scenics tree armatures, and it's got a little temporary base there that you can use. I probably won't use them on the layout, but I'll use the little base while I'm doing this. And all you do, pop that in the bottom there so it'll stand up, and you just twist these branches to make whatever shape you want. Now one of the things I don't like about these is they're a bit too flat. Now they do bend. I'm not sure how easy you can see this, but I'll show you when I've finished bending them. It's ice cream man. And once you've bent them, you end up with that. What I then do is I cover them with the Hobby Tack adhesive, and you paint all that on and you wait for it to go transparent once it's dry. So you can see there's one here, and I've painted it on, and you can see it's starting to go a little bit translucent. Once that's gone completely see-through, it stays sticky, and I take my tub of bits and I basically just stick them on all the way around, just all these little tiny bits. Now remember, if it's got a bit of a branch on it, you want to try and get that going down into the tree. But it doesn't matter, because once it dries, you can go back around with a pair of scissors and just tidy it up. Now that one's, the glue's not quite ready on that one yet, so I'm going to leave that for one to dry a little bit more, and then we'll stick some more. And the next thing I want to do is hit up all these trees with this brown spray paint. I'm going to take them outside. One of the reasons why I'm doing this in the kitchen and not in the loft. And each tree, I'm just going to hold the bottom, I'll put a pair of gloves on, and I'm just going to spray from underneath. So basically, what's going to be the tree trunk, and just the underneath deeper bit, darker bottom of it will become dark brown, and the rest will stay this natural green colour. Once I've got all them done, and once I've got all of these Woodland Scenic armatures done like this, then I'm going to turn my attention to getting some scatters on. The other thing I'm going to do as well is these cheap China trees that I showed you earlier. I've been playing around with one of them, and I've transformed it from that into that. Now what I've done is I've sat and I've just picked as much of this bright green off as I can get off it, just sitting and picking, and then taking some small pieces of this, and again hit it up with some glue. I actually use the spray glue, push that in, and it gives you lots of different branches within the tree. Now if any of them are too big, you can just trim them off with a pair of scissors. Then I hit the whole thing with the brown spray paint, because I wanted to tone down this green because it was too garish in my opinion. And then after I'd done that, I then just put some scatter material over the top to tone it down, and it just stops it from being so uniform and so garishly toilet brush green. It's still a very uniform shape, but it doesn't have each of the distinct layers on that it had on before. So I'm going to crack on for a bit, and then I'll come back to you and show you what. Things are progressing really well. These are the little Woodland Scenics armatures with the seafoam that you saw me making just a second ago. And I've actually gone a step further, and I've added 3 different types of scatter material onto this end. If I bring this around, you should hopefully be able to see them a little better. We've got, as I say, 3 different things in here. This is leaves on this end here, and that's the Geek Gaming green leaves. Then we've got just some scatter, some normal Woodland Scenic scatter, and then here we've got a Java scatter. And actually I think the 3 of them together work pretty well. I'm pleased with how that's turned out. So that's the first type of trees that you can see there. The second type is them cheapo from China, eBay, Amazon type trees, and they're all done. They were really easy to do, so I picked off as much of the light green as I possibly could, hit them up with a brown spray paint, and then in a tub, I basically took a tub and I mixed in there some coarse turf medium green, some coarse turf burnt grass, and I also added a little bit of medium green underbrush, mixed it all together, and then basically sprayed the trees with spray glue and just dipped them in and around, give them a good shake, filled up any gaps. And what I've also done, if you remember, I had some of this, Poppy Field scatter, and I added some of that to a couple of them, and I think they make quite convincing apple trees. When they're mixed in a scene, I mean, these are obviously going to have to go in the garden or around the station or somewhere where you'd have quite well manicured trees, but they've turned out all right. I'm quite pleased with them. Now, one thing to point out at this point is, if you remember, I had this cheap spray adhesive that I got, and it's awful. It comes out of the tin like silly string. If you remember silly string, it's awful. It just doesn't work. So I'm predominantly using the 3M spray amount. It's costs a bit more money, but it works so much better, so I'm going to keep using that. We also have the seafoam trees, and I've put all these in a piece of foam as well, so you can see what they look like. Started to put some scatter on them as well, so I'm really pleased with how they're looking. Let me take out that really big tree so you can see it. Look how good that looks. Well, I think it looks good anyway. I'm really, really pleased with it. So I'm going to crack on. I'm going to get some more scatter onto the rest of these. One other thing, just to quickly show you, Woodland Scenics, finally, foliage. And in that came a free tree armature. Now it's much bigger than the other ones that I had. And that's it. And I've pulled that apart and had a bit of a play with it. And I've just stuck some of this fine leaf foliage on it. And I'm quite pleased with that. I think that looks all right. It's a little bit different to the other trees, which I don't mind. You can move it around, you can rearrange it, but it just adds a bit more variety. So I've also used one of the little armatures, again with the fine leaf foliage on, just to try and give something a bit different. Definitely works better than using the underbrush and so on these does, so I'll probably do half a dozen of them, just so I've got a bit more variety. So I'll crack on and I'll come back to you. So, as you can see, I have quite a lot of trees made. I've actually ran out of the 3M spray glue, so I'm going to leave it there. I've still got some sea foam left. I've still got some of the forest canopy trees left as well, but I think I've got enough. I have ordered another tin of the spray glue, and I have seen people use things like hairspray and stuff like that, but I'm happy with the glue, so I'm going to keep using the spray glue. So I'm going to leave the video from there just to quickly show you what we've got. So these here are the cheap trees. These are the cheap China ones that have improved. These trees just over here, these are the ones that came in the forest canopy set from Woodland Scenics. I've made a couple in 2 different colours there, just a few of them. I might make them if I need them. I've got plenty of stuff left. I can always come back to them. Then right here in front of us, these here are all the seafoam trees. These are the ones that I made using just the seafoam and then the different scatters on them. And then at the back, which I'll bring forward for you to see a little better, over here we've got the trees. Let me just move that camera up a little bit. That's it. So the trees at this side, these are all the ones using the Woodland Scenic armatures and then gluing on some seafoam and then putting the scatter over the top. And at this side, we have a selection of trees. Again, I'm going to turn it around so you get a better angle. There we go. These are using the Woodland Scenic armatures and then some clump foliage. And there's a couple of trees that I got just came out of the box of clump foliage that actually look pretty good. So that's them. So let me know in the comments down below what's your favourite. As I say, this video was just something a little bit different. It was something that needed to be done. I needed the trees before we could go any further. So let me know what your favourites are. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the like button, the share button. If you like what you've seen on the channel, share it with your friends. And as always, guys, a huge thank you to my older subscribers as well as the newer subscribers. And I'll be back soon with the next update back in the loft from Pride Parkway. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.